It's time for your daily LSU baseball update with Musso at the box. Now, Matt Musso.
And welcome back in. Musso at the box. LSU opens up preseason practice over the weekend. Last Friday was the first day. We heard from Jay Johnson. They have since scrimmaged 3 times. They will scrimmage again on Monday. Was able to get out to the box on Sunday, take in the 5-inning scrimmage. A little less than 2 hours of baseball. Great day. I'd be out there. Nice weather, cool, and just fantastic to be back out there, getting eyes on the team, watching some ball. Fantastic to be back with all of you. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for being patient, although some of you mentioned that it was impatiently waiting. So thank you for your impatience, but also still waiting. And hey, I always say it. When they're back, we'll be back. Well, they're back. So here we are, and fired up to do it, ready for another season, 2025. Spring's eternal, right? With a lot of hope and a lot of expectation that always comes with the LSU baseball Tigers. This year will be no different, and if everything falls into place, they have a chance to make a really, really special run. We will have you covered all throughout the season, daily, here on Musso at the Box. Please hit the like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, share, subscribe on your favorite podcast app as well, so you can take us with you wherever you may go. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. Follow me on social media. Those are scrolling, the handle's scrolling down there at the bottom of your screen. Also, hey, check out the new graphics. Yeah, new graphics, new software, a little upgrade here on Musso at the Box here for 2025. So again, fired up to be back with everybody, and fired up to have you all back with me as well for another season. Like, share, tell your friends. Greatly appreciated. Okay, enough of that. Let's get into the baseball, shall we? Went out to the box on Sunday. They scrimmaged for 5 innings, saw all of it in its entirety. As I said, little less than 2 hours that they were out there, and there's plenty to talk about. But before we get into it, we'll throw out our disclaimer. This is preseason practice. These are controlled scrimmages. You can take things from them, but always take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. They've got 18 practices to go through before they actually throw out the first pitch on Valentine's Day against Purdue-Fort Wayne. We're a long way away still, and things can change. For example, you might remember at the end of the preseason period a season ago, Mac Bingham and Josh Pearson were both hitting the daylights out of the baseball. That did not necessarily translate early in the season or over the course of the whole season. Those guys both each had some big moments for LSU. Don't get me wrong. But they looked like all SEC performers at the end of the preseason period a season ago. So we take things with a grain of salt. But there are certain things you can glean situationally, at bats, who's putting together the best at bats, things of that nature. And there's plenty to go through, as I said. Let me get my notes pulled up here. There's something in each phase of the game. Offensively, on the mound, and defensively. I want to start offensively, though, because that's where the biggest takeaways came for me. Yes, there are a couple individuals that we will get to, and both of them are newcomers. But as a whole, I was impressed offensively by LSU. This was not a day on Sunday where LSU just went out there and sprayed base hits all over the field. But I'll be damned if they weren't still productive, and hella productive offensively. And it was actually one of the things I was most interested to see, because when Jay Johnson met with the media on Friday to open up preseason camp, he was asked about power bats. Because you look at guys, like, Bear Jones is back. He hit 28 homers. He's got a legitimate chance to hit 30 or more if the protection around him in the lineup comes to fruition, reaches the heights that we think that it can. He's got a chance to do that. But Jay was asked Friday when we met with the media if there's other guys. Like, are there other 20-homer guys in this lineup? Because you saw Danny Dickinson come in, and he hit a bunch of homers at Utah Valley. Luis Hernandez, same thing at Indiana State, hit a bunch of home runs. There's plenty of those guys that look like they have the potential to have the pop. Jake Brown is a guy that you can see elevate his power game, obviously, this year. Blaze Priester, there are guys with a lot of power. And Jay said that he thought the offense would be more a whole greater than the sum of its parts. That yes, in the past, they've had plenty of power, and they have. LSU's teams have hit over 100 home runs each of Jay's first 3 years. They hit 114 in 22, 144 in 23, and 114 again a season ago. And he mentioned, you had Tommy White and Bear Jones last year, and both of them had over 20. But at times he felt they became too reliant on one of those two guys hitting a home run for them to score their runs. And he's right. And he punctuated that answer by saying it comes back to scoring runs, and we will score runs. So when I heard all of that, my interest is immediately peaked because I'm thinking, okay, I've heard him consistently say throughout his time being here, now going into year 4, they will score runs by any means necessary, whatever fits their current team. So when I hear him say something like, it comes down to scoring runs and we will score runs, I'm thinking, okay, is that going to be more aggressive approach as a whole? Manufacturing runs, taking what's given to you, things of that nature. And let me tell you, on Sunday in a controlled scrimmage, that was very evident. Yeah, that's what they were doing. They were extremely aggressive on the base paths. There was a lot of situational stuff with guys understanding understanding the spot in the game and driving in the run by any means necessary. There were plenty of sack bunts and squeeze bunts throughout the scrimmage. There were stolen bases. There were hit and run attempts. They were very aggressive offensively in moving the baseball, moving the runners, and getting them across the plate by any means necessary. And I'll tell you right now, as much as I love seeing guys just crank the ball out of the park, and I do, who doesn't? We all dig the long ball. I love me some good situational manufacture baseball. And LSU did it fantastic. I have a few examples that I want to go through here momentarily. We'll start in the very first inning of the game. First batter was Tanner Reaves. He's a JUCO transfer, and he figures in somehow in this team. It's going to be hard to keep that kid off the field. He's one of the individuals that we're going to talk about here momentarily. But he's the first batter of the entire scrimmage. He reaches on an error. And we're going to come back to the errors because there were a few too many of them, at least more than I wanted to see, especially from the guys they came from. But Reaves reaches on an error. Ethan Fry's due up next. He walks. You have first and second. Ashton Larson comes to the plate, who, by the way, is a freshman a season ago, hit over 300 for the majority of the year, and the majority of that was in SEC play, and finished the season at 298. He was a big part of your offense and hit kind of in the middle of your lineup at times. He's in the 3-hole in this scrimmage. Comes up, he squares to bunt, gets it down, also reaches on an error. It was a throwaway by Cade Arrambide on fielding of the bunt. That scores Reaves, so you have 2 errors in the inning. That gets you a run across, and you end up with second and third. Nobody out. Luis Hernandez comes up. Stays within himself, hits the sacrifice fly, drives in another run. Both runners advance. So now you have a runner at third, 1 out. Ryan Costello, a true freshman who's a pretty giant human being and hits the ball really hard. Hits a ground ball to the right side of the infield, forces across the other run on the ground out. So right there in that spot, you saw reach on an error, a walk drawn, a successful sacrifice bunt, and another error on that, sac fly, RBI ground out. You get 3 runs without the benefit of a hit. Again, I understand. Controlled scrimmage. You can't always count on errors. You have to get these guys on base. But errors do happen in baseball. And what's important is LSU took advantage of it. What they were given, they took advantage of. In the second inning of the scrimmage, same lineup. This was the guest lineup doing this. Designated road team, right? They start, again, the controlled scrimmage aspect of this. They start with a runner on first base, nobody out. Mick Paul's at the plate. They call for him to sacrifice bunt. He gets it down, moves the runner over to second. Mikey Ryan comes up next, freshman infielder, shortstop, out of Rummel. He had a nice day. I was impressed with him, and it started at this moment. So you have the runner on second. Mikey Ryan's at the plate. He's down in the count 0-2. Then you have a wild pitch that advances the runner to third. So look at this situation. 1 out, runner at third, 1-2 count on a freshman at the plate. and LSU immediately calls for a squeeze bunt with 2 strikes. Mikey Ryan gets it down. First opportunity. You can't bunt it foul, you're out, right? Gets it down. That'd be a massive spot in the ball game to entrust a freshman to handle the bat like that. And he gets it down, scores the run. He's out at first base. But he gets the RBI, and another run comes across without the benefit of a hit. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that LSU is going to go out there and play West Coast small ball. I'm not even telling you I want LSU to go out there and play West Coast small ball. In fact, I don't want LSU to do that. I want to see them obviously hit the homers as well. But in certain situations, it's good to know you have that. And if that's what you're going to have to do, if you don't have multiple 20 home run guys in this lineup this season, you're going to have to find a way to push across other runs. And they did that there. The other thing, they were incredibly aggressive on the base paths. You had stolen bases. In the 4th inning of the game, that guest lineup stole 2 bases. You ended up loading the bases there in that inning as well, with nobody out. McPaul comes up, sac fly, another run without the benefit of a hit. With the bases loaded and nobody out, would you like the base hit there? Absolutely. But you have to get something, and you did. Dalton Beck gets a little pinch hit at bat there. He reaches on an error. But what was important is on that sac fly by McPaul, all 3 runners advanced. You had 2nd and 3rd with 1 out. And, or did you end up with 2 outs at some point there? No, 1 out. He reaches on an error, and in the process, scores a run, but the ball got away, and John Pearson, going on contact, never slowed down, scored from 3rd on an error that got past Jared Jones, and they still tried to make the play at first. They couldn't, but that extra time trying to make that play allows John Pearson to come around and score. Heads up base running, knowing the spot there that, okay, they're still trying to go get him. I'm not stopping, not hesitating. I'm going all the way around. Incredibly aggressive. It gets you another run. Jake Brown had a similar play later in the game. His was with, I believe his might have been with 2 outs though. So he on contact definitely wasn't going to stop. You had a suicide squeeze bunt later in this game that also coincidentally scored Jake Brown. It was Chris Stanfield who got that down, who had a nice couple of days, Saturday and Sunday. So I loved that. Like, that was the main takeaway for me, was the aggressiveness on the base paths, at the plate, in manufacturing runs and putting guys in different situations and watching them come through from a depth standpoint. Like, yo, Mikey Ryan, not going to start opening day for LSU unless something changes drastically. But if you have that guy on your bench in that spot, and by the way, he made a dynamite play in the field at shortstop as well. Let me see if I can find that in here. Look at the situation and everything for you. Man, where is it? It was on Milam. Yeah, here we go. It was in the bottom of the it was in the bottom of the 1st inning. Oh, I'm sorry, no. It was in the bottom of the 3rd inning. There's a runner at first base. It's Stanfield. He singled, and then he stole 3rd. Excuse me, 2nd. He stole 2nd. I don't know about 3rd. Stole 2nd. So you have a runner at 2nd, 2 outs, Milam at the plate. That's a spot where you'd love to see Milam come through, but he hits a grounder. And keep in mind, you had Dylan Thompson on the mound for the visitors. He's a righty, so Milam switched over to the left side now. So he's going to get out of the box quick. He hits kind of I don't want to call it a total chopper, because it wasn't a complete chopper, but it was a maybe like a 2-hopper. It still had some zest on it, but he's coming from the left-handed batter's box. Mikey Ryan ranges towards second base from his shortstop position, charges in, grabs it, throws all in one motion on the run, and hit Jared Jones, hit the first baseman. I believe that was John Pearson at that time, square in the chest, and nips Milam. It was a fantastic play. So he had the great at-bat there with the bunt, and then had a great play in the field. To have that type of depth, that's huge. So loved what they did from a manufacturing run standpoint. Now, when it came to actually getting hits, Tanner Reaves, Cade Arrambide, those guys really, really stood out offensively for LSU. And we'll start with Reaves. Reaves officially 1 for 3 on the day. He reached on that error. He had another hit. That was a solo homer. That came off of Cade Woods. So 1 for 3, homer, RBI, 2 runs scored for Tanner Reaves. He was awesome. Consistently put the baseball in play. Didn't punch out. Oh, I'm sorry, he did punch out once. His last at bat, he punched out looking. But put the ball in play the other 2 times and reached base both times because of it, and came around to score both times because of it as well. And seeing him hit the long ball was great too. It was a pull side homer, right center field, right, the scoreboard where they display the lineups. It went underneath that. So I mean, it was a shot. Woods fell behind in the count, and Reaves made him pay. He was awesome. Look, this is a guy who did nothing but hit the cover off the baseball in junior college. And look, we'll obviously talk plenty more about him as we get closer and we start going through meet the transfers, meet the freshmen, all that type of stuff. But I mean, just quickly, this is a guy who posted a cumulative 398 batting average in 2 years at Blinn, 28 homers, 142 RBIs. He's a bat, and he's pretty darn good in the field as well. He played third base. He is definitely that guy that's going to compete for time on this jumbled infield. Tanner Reaves really, really, really showed out. I was very impressed. He made some nice plays in the field and all of that as well. But offensively, he constantly put pressure on the defense and even left the yard. So that was great to see. Cade Arrambide, one of the guys I was most excited to see, and for good reason. Cade Arrambide, if you're not familiar, true freshman catcher, just looks the part. I mean, my gosh, as a freshman, 6'3", 204 is what he's listed at. I'll tell you, he is every bit of that 6'3", 204. Sometimes they fudge, what's it called? Their listed height and weight on the roster. This guy is every bit of that. He is massive, fills out the uniform great as a freshman already, and was one of LSU's best hitters in the fall. I mean, hit right around, I think it was 360 or somewhere in there. He was great. Here, I mean, I can actually, I can get it for you if I can figure out where this is. Hold on 1 second. That's not what I wanted to do. Never mind. We're not gonna go there right now. But it was somewhere around 360 in there. I was going to try to get the exact number, somewhere around 360. So I was really excited to see him. And he did not disappoint. In his first at bat, he laced the ball to left field. It was caught, but he put the barrel on it. Then in his second at bat, he comes up. He starts off the inning, but they controlled it. Runner at first and second, nobody out for him up. You had a wild pitch pass ball thing that advanced them to second and third with nobody out. And Cade Arrambide delivers. He laced a ball to the left center field gap that off the bat I thought had a chance, especially with the wind blowing out. It didn't make it all the way. It falls in for a double, scores both of the run. So those are the only 2 at-bats he had. He ended up being 1 for 2 with the double and 2 RBI and a loud fly out to left field. He put the bat on the ball. Behind the plate, defensively, not great, not terrible. Had some nice moments. Kept the ball in front of him very well, even though one of them, a runner, was able to advance, but it didn't get super far away. It was just heads up aggressive base running by LSU, which they had. And he did have the error on the Ashton Larson bunt where it was a play he should not have. He shouldn't have thrown the ball to first. He should have just ate it. Larson gets down the line well, especially coming from the left-handed batter's box, and he sailed it over Jones's head. That's just, got to understand, hey, put that one in your pocket. You want to make a play. I get it. You don't want to load the bases, right? But, man, you also don't want to have the error, and that's what led that and Jones's error to start the game led to, 3 runs without the benefit of a hit. So understand the situation a little bit better, and you'll get there. And I do believe that he will. Those are really the main takeaways offensively. Jake Brown did have a nice RBI single later in the game. Steven Milam ended up getting a single in the scrimmage's last at bat. So, I mean, look, that was great to see those 2 guys do that. Derek Curiel didn't have a hit, but he put the ball in play Each time he was up at the plate, just 0 for 2. They were just both caught and whatnot. So that was good to see. Danny Dickinson did have an RBI single, which was nice to see. It was of the infield variety. That was the one that Jake Brown never stopped running. It was 2 outs and in contact, and Brown he never stopped. Ends up scoring on the infield single. So, but Dickinson also walked, so he reached base twice, 1 for 1. You saw the building blocks there, right, of guys. On the mound, got to see 3 pitchers that hadn't seen pitched. Cooper Williams, who's a freshman out of Alvin, Texas, saw him throw 2 innings. It didn't go great, but it didn't go horrible. He was let down by his defense a little bit. Not allowed 3 runs to score as well. So, but interesting arm, lefty, 90-92. He topped out at 94, complimented that with the slider. Saw Dylan Thompson pitch, redshirt freshman, Louisiana guy, undersized, bit of a throwback. I mean, he's not overpowering at all, but it's a lot of strikes. It just has to be quality strikes. So we'll see what his role kind of ends up being for LSU. But did have some nice moments throughout. Saw Cade Woods, and mixed bag there. He struggled definitely at times. Walked a couple guys. He didn't see much of him last year. The command, that was a big reason why, and the control. That's going to have to get better to really see him this season as well, just with the plethora of arms that LSU has. The guy who was most impressive was somebody that I had not seen yet, and that was Dalton Beck. Dalton Beck is a left-hander, senior transfer from Incarnate Word, and not overpowering, but a lot of strikes. Fastball was 89-91. The slider was pretty filthy, 80-82 in that range. Showed the ability to really move it. Both of his pitches really had great command. Move it both sides of the plate, glove side, arm side, to lefties and righties. Like he was in control out there. He really, really stood out. He also got in at bats. He's a two-way guy. Can play the outfield, first base, can pitch, all those types of things. Overall, for his day, 2 innings, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, and 2 strikeouts. But what was most impressive is the lineup that he did it against. So he was on the designated road team. So he's facing the home lineup. And the home lineup was the guys that you would think are going to really get the opportunity to start. Stephen Milam, Jake Brown, Jared Jones, Derek Curiel, Danny Dickinson, Michael Braswell was in that lineup. Like that is a lineup that you look at and go, okay, well, that guy's going to have a spot. That guy's going to have a spot. That guy's gonna... A lot of the starters and even perceived starters were in that lineup. And he threw 2 shutout innings against that, only giving up the 1 hit. I'm sorry, he didn't give up a hit. He walked Dickinson. That was the only guy to reach base against him. The 6 outs that he recorded were against Chris Stanfield, veteran SEC player from Auburn, Stephen Milam, Derek Curiel. He got Jones to hit into a fielder's choice. So that's one of your outs, but it wasn't Jones he got out, but he did get him to hit into the fielder's choice. He struck out Jake Brown and then struck out Josh Pearson. Again, veteran players. So, again, those 6 outs, Stanfield, Milam, Curiel, Jones into a fielder's choice, Jake Brown, Josh Pearson. It was very impressive. I don't know what Dalton Beck's role is going to be on this team. I would imagine it is a bullpen piece, maybe some stuff in the midweek early to start off as well, but that's a guy that could absolutely contribute. Well, I don't want to say absolutely yet. That's a guy I'm very interested to watch throughout the rest of this preseason period to see if that was a one-off or if this is a guy that's going to contribute on the weekends for LSU in some capacity. He's definitely veteran enough, had plenty of success at Incarnate Word, but you wonder how that translates. Coming from the Southland Conference up to the SEC, how that's going to translate. Well, going through that lineup on Sunday, it translated quite well. And again, it was multiple pitches on both sides of the plate, and he was in complete control and a lot of strikes. So, man, I loved what I saw from Dalton Beck. And again, it's a crafty lefty. So I'm always for that. We will see kind of how it goes for him going forward with LSU. Really, the last thing other to talk about from that is the fielding. And I mean, you had the error on Arrambide, and Arrambide is a guy who could be the opening day catcher for LSU. Like, that would not surprise me at all, especially with that bat. Got to see Blaze Preacher a little bit in the fall. Didn't see him on Sunday. And look, he's obviously going to fight for a spot in that lineup, especially because of the bat. He had a great fall as well. He led the team in homers. Like, that's a power bat, so maybe that's a DH spot for him. DH is going to be one of the more interesting positions to watch on days that he's not catching. Maybe that's where he slots in. But I mean, you could also have Tanner Reaves at DH. I mean, you could have a lot of Luis Hernandez, Jake Brown. Like, you have a lot of guys. Jay said 7. They have 7 guys right now that they look at for designated hitter. Right. So there's plenty of options. So again, a guy who could be your opening day catcher. Didn't love seeing that error on the bunt, but we already kind of talked about that. Jared Jones had 2, at least what I would classify as errors, and I think they would have been scored that as well. Both hot shots, but both right at him at first base. Both of them took wicked late hops, and that's it. They tied him up. Like, they tied him up. But it's plays that we've seen Jared Jones make. Now, in terms of catching everything over at first base, when guys are throwing it to him, he was awesome. Like, he was really, really good. That's where we get into the positives defensively. Get those errors out now and hope that they don't rear their ugly head in the season. But the positive plays, Michael Braswell, let me find it here so I can get this situation. Michael Braswell made a great play on Eddie Yaman to end the inning. There was nobody on base, but it was a ground ball left side. At this point, Braswell was playing third. He ranges over in front of Milam just like he should, catches it kind of like a running jump throw, all in one motion, hit Jared Jones right in the chest. I mean, it was a perfect throw. He could not have handed it to him any better. So that was awesome to see from Braswell over at third. Steven Milam had a really nice play at the shortstop position where he ranged over towards third, backhands, planted the feet, and uncorked the throw. The throw was on line. It was just a little short, but Jared Jones with a great scoop picked it up and saved it. So you saw what is potentially going to be the new left side of your infield with Milam at short, Braswell at third, both make nice plays in their new respective positions. They did flip throughout the game. Milam went to third and Braswell went to short. So they're still, figuring that out. If I had to tell you right now, I would imagine that's going to end up being Milam at short and Braswell at third. Dickinson played second. Jones was at first. In terms of the outfield, there were no flashy plays or anything like that. Guys made the plays that they were supposed to make. You did see a plethora of guys out there. Ethan Fry played left field for the road team all game long. Ashton Larson played right field for the road team all day long. You saw Ryan Costello, who's listed as a first baseman and at corner outfielder, play center for LSU on the road team. But then Mick Paul took over that spot as well later in the game. And then you saw Chris Stanfield start in center, move to left. You saw Derek Curiel start in left, move to center. And you saw Josh Pearson start out in right, but later Jake Brown moved to right field as well. So you saw all of them out there. And, I mean, you have plenty of options. That's going to be one of the more fascinating things. We'll have plenty more time to talk in depth about the position battles, catcher, outfield, DH, and the infield, because that's what we really want to see. But, I mean, that's ultimately what I saw. Look, y'all, that's a great early preseason scrimmage for that team where they manufactured runs. You had a standout performance on the mound from a guy who I'm really intrigued to see go forward in Dalton Beck. And while you had errors, you had nice, saves as well in the field. You had nice plays in the field as well. So mixed bag defensively. I thought very impressive offensively with all the manufacturing. And then, as I said, Dalton Beck on the mound. Great. So, look, early returns, early preseason scrimmage, 2 thumbs up for that one. I thought they acquitted themselves very nicely. That being said, they have a long way to go. They are not where they need to be yet. They will scrimmage again on Monday. What's my time that I'm at here? Okay, we got to wrap this up here soon. We'll hat tip Chris Stanfield as well. He was 2 for 2 on Saturday with a homer, and then again 1 for 2 on Sunday. So Really nice days, 3 hits over 2 days for Stanfield there. To kind of expect that. It's a veteran guy who's played in the SEC, plenty at Auburn. He'll catch anything out in the outfield as well. He's going to need a spot somewhere on this team, I do believe, to start. That's why you go get him. I don't think you brought Chris Stanfield in to not start. So we'll see there. But that was great. And then the other thing to point out as well, man, you had some really solid performances on the mound earlier in the weekend as well. Cade Anderson for sure, man. Cade Anderson threw 3 shutouts, struck out 6 on Friday, which was awesome to see. And then Gavin Guidry had a really nice day on Saturday. So did Zach Cohen. Cohen threw 3 shutout or 3 innings, no earned runs, I should say, punched out 3, didn't walk anybody. That's what you want to see. It's a control guy. Gavin Guidry as well, 2 innings, no earned runs, no walks, struck out 3 on Saturday. And then let's see, I mentioned Cade Anderson. Anthony Ianson was the other one who threw 3 innings on Friday, shutout ball, 4 strikeouts. Great to see. That's a guy who's going to compete for time. And DJ Primo again with a shutout inning of work there too. So the pitching really shined in the first 2 meetings, the first 2 scrimmages. Offense had the day a little bit on Sunday, but they'll keep rolling. Again, they'll scrimmage on Monday. We'll pass along some thoughts there. Last thing to get out, they are ranked number 2 preseason Baseball America. That poll dropped on Monday morning. So LSU preseason number 2 by Baseball America. We'll have a few more polls come out. I think we have Baseball America, Perfect Game, and D1. So we'll need USA Today and the Writers Association. That will drop before the season gets started. All right, y'all, that's going to wrap it up. Smash a like if you haven't already. Subscribe, share, follow me on social media. Subscribe, YouTube, and your favorite podcast app. Get us anywhere. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. Happy to be back. Happy to have all of y'all back with me. Be here next time for more on Musso at the Box.